For many years, tensions have been building at the Capitol.
You listen to us, You work for us!
Security is stricter and more visible this session and concentrated in the Capitol this week in particular, confirmed by the head of the State Patrol Security, who has primary jurisdiction.
The time has come for us to provide better security here at the state capitol. I've been coming here for 4 decades, and the last few years, the polarization in our country and locally, the intensity of feelings that are out there, sometimes that turns to anger. And the reality is anger can turn to violence.
We acquired this letter from the Ramsey County Sheriff calling for metal detectors, X-ray machines, and security checkpoints. He says times have changed and policy must too before it's too late.
It's our job to protect people here, not just the legislators, the media, testifiers, young kids in these groups that we've just seen that are coming in here. We should make sure there's no weapons here, and the legislature can debate whether permit holders should have the right to come in.
The Council of State Governments found that the vast majority, at least 73% of state capitals, use metal detectors and 61% use X-ray machines. More seats of government have added new security measures since the study was done, including Hawaii.
Our research is that 37 of the 50 have metal detectors. You mentioned that maybe an additional one now, and only 13 don't. Surprisingly, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Iowa have checkpoints at their entrances, and there's probably less political controversy in North Dakota and South Dakota than here.
Do you have interest in beefing up security in this building?
I'm not looking at metal detectors or anything like that, but obviously we need to look at the security situation. What happened in that House committee hearing simply should never happen.
Away from my personal space and stop yelling in my face.
The current legislature has more members who have served as law enforcement and emergency responders than any we can recall. Currently in the House, we count 7 members who have been first responders, and they're increasingly being heard.
I haven't sat down. I should probably do this at some point and figure out how many years of law enforcement that we have standing just in this room.
As House Republicans rolled out their public safety plans, we had some questions.
How do you feel about public safety in the state capitol? I think we're kind of unusual across the country that we don't have metal detectors, we don't have, we've left the building very open, and it's a tense time on both sides of the aisle. How do you feel about that?
Well, Mary, there's a lot of things, and that's a whole different subject. As a law enforcement officer with law enforcement officers behind me, we have our opinions about things, and after last week's thing, there have been some suggestions for improvements, and we hope to make it safe for everyone to be here.
Do you carry at the Capitol? Do you know of members?
Next question.
While this former officer won't disclose if he's carrying a weapon at the Capitol, we have seen lawmakers carrying guns here and know it's an increasing trend.
I don't personally have any objection to lawmakers carrying weapons. Our judges in the Ramsey County Courthouse, many of them carry. And unfortunately, though, it's because we haven't taken steps to mitigate the safety threat that they feel they need to have a gun.
Minnesota's original concealed carry law had required people in the Capitol to report to public safety if they were armed in the building, but State Patrol says that portion of the law was repealed.
We have no idea on any given day anymore how many people are carrying in this building.
Well, that's really up to the legislature to decide the final policy. It can work either way. It can work with members being allowed to carry. It can work with permit holders being allowed to carry. At the state fair, we don't allow permit holders to come in.
At the U.S. Capitol, some House Republicans refused to pass through newly installed metal detectors after Democrats raised concerns about members carrying weapons.
Everyone knows that the intensity of the political debate in this country, in this state, is at its highest point ever. And the anger on both extremes.
In reaction to our report, the Department of Public Safety says, quote, protecting those who work in, visit, and gather at the Capitol is a top priority, and we take this responsibility seriously. The security recommendations raised by the sheriff and others are regularly reviewed and discussed. DFL Senate Leader Erin Murphy tells me, quote, there's been a steady rise in threats directed at elected officials. Staff have assessed national best practices and their application here at home. This important work is ongoing, and recent incidents have shown there is a reason to act. It is a priority for our caucus.